Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Aisha, aka Lesh, of the Lux Lifestyle blog Living Lesh, where you can also find me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, which is why you're here, as well as Pinterest and Twitter and everything in between. So I'm so glad you're here. But before we get into today's topic, which is probably you're watching this video, I want to make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you can stay connected with me at Living Lesh here on YouTube, whether it's shorts or videos like these, where I'm sharing blogging tips, business tips, aspects on motherhood, fashion tips, beauty tips, and reviews, as well as travel tips and vlogs. So again, make sure you hit that subscribe button, stay connected with me, and also make sure you follow me. Head to my Instagram at Living Lesh, head to my TikTok at Living Lesh, and follow me because I'm sharing more tips there. But you are here today because you're trying to probably get some insight on how much do you charge for a sponsored post. You may have watched my other video, and if you haven't, go check it out because I share so much great information there on how to secure a paid partnership. But now that you've maybe secured one, you are ready to negotiate, but you're like, how much do I charge? They're asking me for this video, they're asking me for usage, they're asking me to post on this platform, and you're like, what the heck do I charge for this? Am I undervaluing myself? I put this cost out, they accepted it right away. Should I have charged more? Should I be charging less while people are telling me no? Well, you're here for that, and I'm going to answer those questions. So first, also, I kind of want to throw in this nugget, and I'll talk about a little bit more at the end, is I offer one-on-one coaching sessions, as well as I have a course at the Influencer University. The course is called The Influencer Biz, where I teach you, whether you're a content creator, an influencer, a blogger, how to run your business and begin generating 6 figures a year just like me. I'm sharing all my insider tips. But if you're not looking to enroll in a course and you're like, you know what, I just need one session to get some tips and insight on what I'm doing, I offer one-on-one coaching sessions on many things. You can find the links to both of those in the description below and see more information about it so you can make a decision of whether it's an investment you want to make for you. But I'll get into that more at the end. Let's first talk about why you're here. Again, you're looking to figure out how much to charge for a sponsored post. And to be honest, I'll say when I started actually working as a full-time content creator, I wasn't really sure how much to charge either. It wasn't until I got a manager that I realized how much I was undervaluing myself, and then looking at some of the insight that he gave me, as well as doing some research and finding some more information on my own, as well as talking to brands, as well as PR agencies, as well as other management teams, I soon realized there isn't a perfect formula for this, but there is a way to establish your rates that are fair and ones that you should stick with. Now, before we get into establishing rates, I want to first talk to you about gifted partnerships. If someone is pitching you a gifted partnership, which means a brand is coming to you and saying, we want you to be a brand ambassador. We all get those DMs. I know you've seen them. We want you to be the brand ambassador. We're going to send you this product for you to share on your social channels, and you can have the product for free. Now, I will say, if you accept that, you are technically taking the gifted product as compensation, and you're supposed to, not knowing darn well that not everybody does, you're supposed to actually log that as compensation. So they may send you a $500 watch. Perfect. Now you're like, I'm going to post it on stories. Okay. Well, now you have to go into your accounting system and log that as $500 in income that you've earned, and you're going to get taxed on it. So this is what brands are doing, because now they don't have to send you any tax information and they don't have to log it. It becomes a tax write-off for them, and now something you're getting taxed on for you. So the reason why I share that is, before we go into how much to charge for a sponsored post, the first thing about knowing your worth is, yes, it's okay to accept gifts. But don't always accept gifts as compensation or in exchange for posts, because brands will keep reaching out to you in doing so, and soon some brands won't want to work with you in a paid partnership, or they'll automatically think you're overshooting them because you're accepting gifts for so long. Now that I've had that little nugget, let's get into how much to charge. When determining how much to charge, you first have to understand that the influencer space, the blogging space, the space for content creation, influencer marketing is constantly changing. And brands are putting a lot of money into their influencer marketing. Every year, the amount they're investing in influencer marketing is growing. So never think a brand can't pay you. Don't go into that aspect of, they can't pay me, so I should just accept it. Brands are going to get a return of investment for you, and your time and your effort and your creativity is money. But do know with that note, that also comes into with the influencer space constantly changing, meaning aspects and ways you should charge change drastically too. Just like other things go into inflation, so are the rates you're going to charge. Because your cost of living and your cost of managing your business goes up, your rates are going to have to go up too. But let's start with a baseline. This formula I'm about to give you is not the end all do all. It is a base formula for you to start. It is one that you should take into consideration, but not use it to calculate your rate every single time. Now that rate is that you should be charging $100 for every 10,000 followers that you have. That's not to say that, oh, well, I'm under 10,000 followers. I only have 5,000 followers on Instagram, so I should only charge $50. No, I am not saying that. There are influencers and bloggers and content creators that I work with, that I coach, that I know, who have under 10,000 followers, and they charge thousands for their posts. It comes to other aspects of what you're looking for. Other aspects that come into your rate and come into what value you have to offer, which is your ROI, is if you have high engagement. If you can actually push sales. There are some influencers, bloggers, and content creators who have hundreds of thousands of followers who can barely generate 10 sales when they are pushing things out. Granted, there are other influencers who are less than 10,000 who can generate hundreds of sales. But also in that note, do not think that you have to be generating sales to charge. If a brand comes to you and go, I'm only going to pay you if you generate this amount of sales, run. If they come to you and say, I'm only going to pay you if you generate this amount of clicks, run. You cannot control what your followers do. You cannot control what your followers do. You can share creative content. You know when to post it. You can understand what your community does, when they're online, what they engage with, what they like, what you create, the timeline you do. Those things are all in your control. And those, again, things are time is money. You can't just go, well, I spent 5 hours creating this content and only got 1 click, so I shouldn't be paid. Well, now that's wasted your time. And they still got the marketing because it's still out there. And who knows? Someone down the line, it pops up in a hashtag. Now they've seen it and they purchased it, but you didn't get paid when you did. So clicks, sales, if that's in your contract, get away from it, run from it, but back. So it's $100 for every 10,000 followers. That is the baseline. Let's get into the other aspects of what you should be charging for and how to generate those. Now, if you're probably at this point in the video, I'm going to take a little side note. If you're probably at the point in this video and you're like, you know what, am I going to watch this whole thing? It's going to be super long. I have to go do something. In the description of this video is also a blog post that goes into this. So bookmark it, save it, bookmark this video, bookmark that blog post. There's a lot more detail that you can read in there, as well as templates and aspects for you to use. And I'm also building a calculator that may be there at some point, depending on if it breaks or not. But that is my little tangent. Check out the description. There's a blog post, other things. So, but going forward, so now that we have this baseline, $100 per 10,000 followers. Not the do all, say all, but it's a baseline. Once you have your baseline, you also need to start factoring other aspects that can change your pricing. One thing you need to factor in as well is the deliverable type. So you have 10,000 followers on Instagram. You will not charge the same amount of money for a static post that you're going to charge for a video. You wouldn't charge the same amount of money for a video as you would for stories. You wouldn't charge the same amount for stories as you would for a carousel post. Those are different types of mediums and different types of posts. If they're asking for different deliverables, those posts should be different in pricing. A single static post and a story are probably going to be your lower price ones. Stories, because they're quicker and easier to make and they have a quicker turnaround time, are usually the ones that aren't priced as high as others. Then becomes your static post. That's usually the second highest aspect. Then you're looking at reels. Reels become, one of the, as well as carousel posts. We'll put stories, and then we'll put the static post, and we'll put a carousel post, because you're taking multiple videos, and usually when you're creating a static post, even if it's just one, you probably have other pictures. You just didn't use all of them because you took a variety to make sure that you can pass it through. Or if they like, you know what, we had liked this photo, but we want you to do this. Oh wait, you already did it, so you have to go take photos again. So your carousel post goes well above your static post, and then your reel. Reels, because they take longer to take, especially depending on the length of the content. So if we're going into video posts, another aspect to consider is how much time it's going to take and how much time they're looking for. If you're creating a TikTok video or a reel or a YouTube short, if they are asking for 30 seconds versus 60 seconds versus over 60 seconds, make sure that you are charging based off the amount that they're looking to create, the length. Because it's going to take you longer, it's more content that you'll have to throw in there, and it's more editing. It's taking you longer to create. The longer the video, the more you charge. Your deliverable type, length of the content, that all plays a factor as well. Now, in relation to time, another thing that you should factor into as your rate is the time. Not only just the time it takes you to create the content, but the timing they're looking for you to post. So this is twofold. First aspect of it is, are they looking for a quick turnaround time? If they're looking for a quick turnaround time, you need to charge extra for the quick turnaround time, because now they're making you stop anything else you could be doing, which you could have other brand partnerships, to simply focus on getting this content done within their timeline and getting it up. Meaning you have to get drafts done to send to them for them to review to get it done by this post date. They may give you a week. What you need to make sure you've established ahead of time is your essential timeline, your time of what you need to have to create content and give them a draft. Typically, it's around a week and a half to 2 weeks. That's usually standard in the industry. If they're asking for you to provide drafts by the end of the week and that you sign the contract on Monday, you need to also be able to factor in some extra money from that. Maybe they send you the product and say, oh, we saw that the product was delivered. Can you give us content in 3 days? Yep. That's an extra fee. If they didn't negotiate that before, or if there wasn't anything in there in the timeline, make sure you let them know. Additionally, if there's an established timeline from the time that you sign the contract to when drafts are due. So for example, maybe it's June 1st. You sign the contract and they're looking for the content to go up by June 20th. That's plenty of time. You have 20 days, more than 2 weeks, but they haven't sent product yet. So you're thinking they're going to give it to you pretty fast. Most brands will overnight it or ship it ahead of time or around the same time so that it gets there in time. I've seen a lot of brands and know a lot of brands who actually ship it before the contract sign, and even if the contract doesn't go through or something falls through, they just let you keep the product for free. But in the case that they don't ship the product until the contract is signed, you want to make sure that you ask or inquire as to how they're shipping it. Is it going to be there anytime soon? And also inquire as to whether if the product arrives late, will you get extended time? Because what you don't want to happen is you sign it on June 1st, drafts are due by June 20th, but the product shows up on June 16th. Whatever happens, it's delayed, whether it's on their end because they didn't ship it fast enough, or something got held up with FedEx, UPS, USPS, DHL, whoever. Something held up that you want to have that knowledge in there that they need to give you enough time once product reception to be able to create that content so there's not a quick turnaround time. Again, there's certain factors that are on either one side, and they may have a strict timeline based off of a product launch or what's going on. But just make sure that you're clearly communicating that. If there is a quick turnaround time, you usually charge an extra fee. Of course, there are certain brands you'll probably make exceptions for, especially if it's like FedEx's fault and you're like, you know what, I can still get the content done, then fine. That's up to you. But if you know that they're asking for a quick turnaround time based off of circumstances that are in their control, then you should be charging extra for that. The second aspect of timing is you should be charging extra if they are asking you to basically post during a very high traffic time. So for example, holiday season / Q4, your rate should go up because there's going to be higher ROI for them. Q4 holiday season is when anyone's shopping. So people get ideas as they're searching through social media. They're searching online. They're looking for things to buy and gift their loved ones. So you can charge extra for that, to be included in a gift guide, to promote how their gifts are great to give or their products are great to give as gifts. Charge extra during the holiday season. So depending on the timing and when those products are going to go up, you could charge extra for that. 3 other aspects you should be charging extra for are often things we see in contracts. That's exclusivity, whitelisting and boosting, as well as usage. Usage standard is usually that you'll include in the contract that you'll allow the brand to share authentically on social with tagging. That means you've posted something, they're going to take your post, they're going to share it on their social media channels and tag you as well. Typically that's included, but it's up to you whether you want to charge more. For me, I include it. Now, if they want to remove my tag and use it on theirs without tagging me and giving me credit for the content, yeah, I'm going to charge for that because now they're taking ownership of it. If they want usage for it to post on their channels, on their other social media channels, or possibly use it for a billboard, you should be charging for that as well. Typically, if they're looking for licensing and ownership, you want to charge for that as well, which we'll get into licensing, ownership, and usage a little bit more later in this video, but I want to say that you should be charging more for that. Two other aspects we just mentioned were exclusivity. Typically, exclusivity, you want to do 3 days before, 3 days after, meaning that you cannot post about any other competitors 3 days before, 3 days after. Not only does that do well for them, it does well for you. You don't want to actually say, oh, I loved Olay on Tuesday, it's my favorite brand, and then on Wednesday you're saying, oh, I love Suave, it's my favorite brand on the next day. That looks inauthentic. I guarantee you'll lose followers or they won't trust you as much. And brands will see that and they'll go, well, we don't want to work with her because how is she actually saying work with this influencer. I don't want to say her, sorry. Work with this influencer because they're saying they love this brand, that brand. They actually love our brand when they get it. They love our product, or they just saying it just to make the money. Exclusivity standard in your standard rates are 3 days before, 3 days after. If they're asking for longer, which means that they're now cutting you out from any other brand deals moving forward, then you can charge extra for that. The other aspect is whitelisting and boosting. That means that they're putting money behind your post. They're going into your post behind it through the creator portal or wherever they have access, and they're putting money out to boost it. Now you may be thinking, oh, well, why would I charge for that? That's absolutely great because now I'm getting a wider audience. Well, that audience may not be the audience that you want. You have a very targeted audience with your brand, and that brand does as well. So next thing you know, they've boosted your content, and now you're getting an influx of people who are not like you, who are not your ideal audience. So for example, for me, my ideal audience are mothers and women in their 20s and 30s and early 40s who are into living that luxurious lifestyle. Now, next thing you know, this brand has boosted it, and now I'm getting men who live in a different country who are basically trying to only look at my profile because they think that they love seeing me in a bathing suit. Okay, that's nice, but that's not my ideal audience. And then your engagement can also essentially be thrown off because now you're gaining possibly new followers of people who may not engage with your content all the time, which then lowers your engagement, which then makes you less appealing to certain brands. So be careful with that. You charge extra for whitelisting and boosting. So now let's get into some of the calculations for certain posts. When it comes to Instagram posts, what I usually do is I have a calculation that I follow. And here's this calculation. The follower count I like to follow, and I'm going to read this for you, which is why I'm looking down. I'm allowed to read because I write things down. It is your follower count times 1% plus engagement percentage divided by 2 equals the rate. So I know you can't see that, but what I'm reading off of is actually, I wrote this down in the blog post, so you can actually see it's my content. This is me on my blog. This is the blog you want to look at on my website. So this is where I have all of this listed, all of these calculations. It's follower count times, and you're going to get basically a calculation. It's 1% plus your engagement percentage divided by 2 equals your rate. So in a certain circumstance, say for example, your follower count is 50,000 times this 1% plus 2% divided by 2, you get $1,000 for a static Instagram post. That is the base for a static Instagram post. Meaning, with that being that second level we just talked about, maybe go $250 under, $150 under for stories. And then you start going up from there. For an Instagram carousel post, I usually charge $100 per extra photo. So now that I'm at $1,000, if I'm at 50,000 people, I've got my 2% engagement, which could be higher. I'm at $1,000, and now they want 2 more extra posts or 2 more extra photos. So now I'm at $1,200. So that's the way to calculate that. Also for Instagram Reels, you would look at the amount of views that were come into play. So in that same circumstance, you would use that base rate for a static Instagram post, but factor in your views as well. Now, I don't want to get too much into every single calculation because I want you to actually go and read this blog post because it's so much more detailed than what I can tell you. And basically it's just going to be me reading my blog post away from you. So even with more Instagram stories, you want to say like by follower count, I do it's 100. 175 between 1 to 10 or 0 to 10,000. I also talk about licensing. So you want to use the Getty image calculator for licensing. We talk about that, so I'm going to talk about that a little bit more, but there's so much in this blog post. But while we're talking about it, let's get into licensing. Licensing, whitelisting, and boosting. That is an extra charge that I just talked about with Aspects. With licensing, there is the Getty image calculator. There's a link, again, it's in my blog post, it's linked. We actually can see how much photographers are charging for their photos, for their content. And what you want to do is when someone, a brand asks you for licensing, that means they want to take your photo and be able to use it however they want. Meaning they can manipulate it, they can put something else next to it, they can put text next to it that you haven't said, they can change how you look, they can Photoshop you, they can kind of do whatever. They're taking ownership of it. You typically want to charge extra for this on top of the content you're creating based off of a timeline. So for one photo, regardless of your follower count, licensing and content ownership does not connect to your follower count. What I usually start with is $500 per photo for 6 months. Meaning they can use that photo for 6 months however they like for one photo. That's a photo, not a video, a photo. One photo, $500 for 6 months. They want to use it for a year, $1,000. One term you'll hear is perpetuity. I think I'm saying that right, perpetuity, meaning that they want to use it indefinitely. Typically, you want to avoid that unless it's a brand like you really love. You're like, you know what, I want them to use it. It's gonna go very well. Typically, you want to avoid perpetuity because they can take it and use it whenever they want. And it might pop up later down the line when you're just now not wanting that photo to be used, or you look different, or they manipulate it in some way. It's just something you want to avoid. But you want to charge for licensing and ownership based off the amount of time they're going to use it, and track it. There are systems that you can use, like a Pixieset, that you can allow them to download it and you can track it from the time that they get it for 6 months. Put reminders and make sure that if you see it afterwards, you can send them a bill. Send them an invoice saying, it's been 7 months, you only had this in writing versus in the contract for 6 months and it's still being used. Therefore, here's my invoice for another 6 months. And you can keep charging. I've done that where I have found brands who want to keep using my photo, using the usage, and will actually just keep paying for it month after month, year after year, just to keep using the photo, which is fine for me, which adds to my revenue, and that happens. With whitelisting and boosting, there are certain aspects you'll put in. For 30 days, you usually want to look for like $1,000, $500, $1,000 extra for whitelisting and boosting. That's just for 30 days. If it goes over 30 days, add another $500 or $1,000 more based off of what you're looking for and how it's going to hurt or hinder you. I wouldn't say it's going to hurt you as much, which I talked about, but on average, it's about $500 to $1,000 per every 30 days based off of just your comfort and how it affects your pricing. Of course, if you're charging like $50 per post, which I hope you're not, and now you're adding on another $1,000, that's going to look strange just for whitelisting and boosting. So kind of be able to fluctuate between there, where you feel comfortable and what where it sets for you. But again, if you want more details, you want all the specific formulas, you want to dive down deep and like I literally need a step-by-step guide of how much to post, or how much to charge, look in my description, find that post on how much to charge for sponsored partnerships, and it'll guide you into it. Also, if you're looking for more details and tips of how to secure paid partnerships, make sure you go check out, subscribe to my channel. I have a video on there that shares just that. And a little tidbit at the end that I said I was going to share is I offer one-on-one coaching for influencers, content creators, and bloggers, as well as my course, The Influencer Biz, where the one-on-one coaching goes deep into the issues you're looking to solve or getting that expertise that you really need to grow your brand. But if you're looking for something where you're like, you know what, I'm just starting out, or I've already been there, but I want to expand. I want to get in that part where I can be full-time, where I'm generating 6 figures, multiple revenue streams, invest in the influencer biz. I've heard nothing but good things from my students who have now gone on to leave their full-time jobs to be a full-time content creator, and they are generating 6 figures plus. Not 6 figures plus, but 6 figures, over $100,000 every year. They're generating over the salary they want. You can find more information about the course and my coaching in the description below. Again, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I hope you enjoyed this video and got some information out of it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.